My honorable ancestor, Ermias Askedam, aka Nipsey Hussle, said, "No, she a genius." He said, "No, he, but no, she a genius. She just can't claim it because they left her no platform to explain it." Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ebony Janice. I go by Ebony Janice, which means that you should call me Ebony Janice, and I'm here to talk about genius. This is the Soft Girl Science Day. I talk about softness, what soft girl shit, real soft girl shit really is. And there is a chapter in my forthcoming book, Real Soft Girl Shit, A Womanist Reclamation of Radical Vulnerability, on Black genius. And what I'm talking about is this idea of decolonizing intellect, which is language that I'm sure you've heard before. But I really lean into that Nipsey Hussle lyric where he says, "No, he a genius. He just can't claim it because they left no platform to explain it." It's that there is no way to really understand Black genius. There is no way, in particular, on a whole other level, to really understand or to name or to really claim Black girl genius. I'll give a perfect example. I remember when Donald Glover had this song come out, was yeah, whatever that song was, where in the video it's like a lot of really like shooting and violent and foolishness. There was a lot of stuff going on in that video. But anyways, people were immediately calling him a Black genius. And this was like around the same time that A Seat at the Table had come out, I think. And it was just like, were y'all running to call Solange a genius for what she did on a whole album? Which means that if A Seat at the Table had just come out, that Lemonade had just come out not too long before that. And it was like, are the same people that's calling this video genius, calling Donald Glover a genius for what he did in this video, did y'all do that when Beyonce did something that had never ever happened before with what she created with Lemonade? And so there's no platform to really explain it. There is an ease at which we would rather it's like the hierarchy of like white maleness, patriarchy, of course. Then will like Black men will get to be swept in underneath that, even though they don't benefit the same way from patriarchy that white men do. And then but of course white women, so like even that's a mix up, Black men and patriarchy, white women and whiteness, and then there's Black women, and then there's Black girls, and then there's Black femfolk, right? So we need to have more conversations about Black genius. We need to have more conversation about Black girl genius in particular, because if you are able to name that this is my genius zone, then it really changes the dynamics of how you exist in that space, especially eliminating the possibility of imposter syndrome. How could I have imposter syndrome when I'm actually a genius? And I don't mean that hyperbolically. I mean that there are ways that I show up in the world that is actually genius. If you knew the way that my mind was processing the thing, you would be like, are you Rain Man? What is really going on over here? And even that is a perfect example of like, you think of genius, you think of this like weird white man, doing like weird stuff. But you think about my genius that I literally today, it's 8:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as I make this video. Today, there could be a research project due, and tonight I could start it and be done with it before the morning when it's due. And is that stressful? Sometimes. But is that my genius zone? Absolutely. I'm not talking about a research paper. I'm talking about research from scratch, starting tonight, and turn that thing in the morning. And yes, your boy does have, a 4.0 and a full-time rigorous PhD program. So all that to say, there is your genius zone very likely is not whatever mine is, and mine is very likely not whatever yours is. But it's important to be able to contextualize Black genius in this way, Black girl genius in particular, so that we can stop falling over into imposter syndrome and missing out on what shows up for us when we're actually genius. And I think that's the first step. The first step is, at the very least, having language for it, having language for how our genius zone, having language for, what's going on with us, having language for how we exist in the world, having language for how profound we are, having language for how dynamic it is that we, that we can do the things that we do and show up the way that we show up. And it really is the knowing. The genius really is also, another example of that as I close, it really is how you know things that you just shouldn't know. That is your genius zone. And some of that is ancestral. Some of that is just spiritual. Some of that just is, in the Black girl magic. So yeah, I just want us to start naming it more. That's your genius. Wow, Black girl genius. Wow, that's amazing. And I feel like if we normalize the language of Black girl genius, for us, it don't matter how anybody else feels externally about us naming this as genius. This is genius. This is profound. This is transformative. I ain't never seen nobody do it like that. That's amazing. That will change the way that we exist as it pertains, like I said earlier, to imposter syndrome. And to me, that's real soft girl shit. Like, that gives us the spaciousness. Softness is really about creating a spaciousness. That gives us the spaciousness to be able to operate. Like, who do we get to be when we create from our genius zone, knowing that this is genius, versus who we get to be who we have to be when we're always trying to navigate and juggle all these different identities and, and really watering down our actual capacity because they left us no platform to explain this genius.